It's time for government to begin to segment the approval processes such that it will not be one size fits all. What is available for large businesses will be those that the small businesses or even micro businesses will have to also contend with. That will not work most times, and that will not bring about migration of this informal to the formal sector. I also believe too that it's also time for all of us, be it corporate organizations, be it a business membership organization and all of that, to improve in creating awareness about what is happening in our borders, creating awareness about opportunities that are there for border traders if they formalize, and also creating awareness about the incentive that government has for these players around the borders.
A very good morning to you and welcome to Across Borders, your development-focused program, spotlighting real migration stories, lived experiences, and policy discussions across Africa and beyond. But today, we are shifting away from the regular migration story to other issues that also matter across our borders, especially as they affect our people and businesses navigating regional trade. Our focus today is on trade and travel, policy reforms to support small entrepreneurs across borders. For many small business owners, crossing borders for trade should mean growth and opportunity. Yet, policies, logistics, and mobility challenges often stand in their way. Joining us to unpack the realities and the reforms needed is Dr. Femi Egbesola, President of the Association of Small Business Owners of Nigeria, ASPON, a leading advocate for small-scale enterprises and cross-border economic inclusion. Dr. Femi, it's a pleasure having you this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. I would say this on camera. I actually thought you were going to be joining us virtually.
Well, it's fine to be live sometimes.
And we appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So, without wasting time, let's get into it. I want to ask this, we need your perspective on this to start. How significant is regional or cross-border trade to the growth of small businesses in Nigeria and across Africa?
It's very significant. In Nigeria, we have been import dependent for a long years. And this time around, the narrative is changing. We are beginning to embrace exports. And if you look at the recent statistics rolled out by NAPC, that is Nigerian Economic Export Promotion Council, rather, you'll see that our export doubled this year. And it shows that we are already embracing exports. And exports in Nigeria here is more in the region. It's more in the continent. It's more in ECOWAS countries. And it is beginning to give us a lot of revenues. You see that at the moment too, many MSMEs are now embracing exports because our local market is becoming saturated and very competitive. Again too, because of our falling naira, so to speak, our product is now cheaper in the global markets and even in the continent, which makes us more attractive to buyers in the region and even in Africa. A recent data shows that monthly, from the informal sector alone, we have about $2 million being generated. But the question is, how many of this informal trade are being captured by statistics? The government needs to begin to look at how to build structures so that we can bring about the informal traders across the borders to the data board so that they can also have policies that support them. It is when government is able to capture their data that they can now roll out specific policies that can support what they do and also help them to migrate from being informal to formal. So by and large, exports has been very, very beneficial, not just to government alone in terms of revenue, but also to the players in that sector.
Great.
You also look at the communities that are around the borders. They are doing very well based on exports. So this export is not for them as a livelihood alone, but it is also keeping their communities active and vibrant.
That's interesting. So you actually talked about the impact and how well the SMEs are actually involved, what they are doing, especially with the GDP. So I'm just going to ask you, SMEs, they occupy 96% of Nigerian business, contribute 46% to GDP, yet less than 8% of export. I don't know if you get that. So what explains this level of export participation? You have mentioned, yes, they contribute this, of course, but the export level, if you look at it, it's kind of low. So
it's because the data is not rich enough. the data we have in the papers today is more of the formal sector, those in the formal sector doing exports. The informal sector is not being captured, and a lot are being done in the informal sector. So we need to begin to encourage governments to look at how to bring about structures to be able to capture those in the informal sector. You'll be surprised the kind of volume of trade that is going on in the informal sector. And you want to ask us why are those in the informal sector not trying to embrace formality in their business? Because sometimes their capacities are not built to be able to do that. Sometimes too, the policies, the documentation, and the approvals that is needed to formalize becomes an Aquarian tax for them to embrace. So we begin to look at how can we break down some of these structures to be able to meet them at the point of their need. Some of us are of the advocates that it's time for government to begin to segment the approval processes such that it will not be one size fits all. What is available for large businesses will be those that the small businesses or even micro businesses will have to also contend with. That will not work most times, and that will not bring about migration of this informal to the formal sector. I also believe too that it's also time for all of us, be it corporate organizations, be it a business membership organization, and all of that, to improve in creating awareness about what is happening in our borders, creating awareness about opportunities that are there for border traders if they formalize, and also creating awareness about the incentive that government has for these players around the borders.
Thank you very much. So you agree with me that there are limitations, but despite these limitations, you still see, these entrepreneurs being motivated. What is the motivation? You are in that sector. In fact, as the president of ASBON, you get to see a whole lot, you get to hear a whole lot. What do you think motivates the entrepreneur?
I think the first thing that motivates them is the reason for being in business, which is profit. When you do cross-border trade, you get more money than when you trade locally. Because competition is severe. You can actually not really go up beyond board to fix your price. And when you deal with exports, you're able to sell your products more. I mentioned the other time that our currency now is devalued, and that makes our products more attractive, so you get more markets. At the same time, too, you're able to sell at a better price, which also means more profits. Also, too, you look at those particularly around the borders, they have little or nothing that they do as businesses beyond export. They have seen it as one veritable tool for them to keep their body and soul together, and they have become veteran in it over the time. So that's another reason why you see many into exports. Again, too, you see that a lot of sensitization is now going on. Government is doing a lot now to preach to us the need for us to begin to export. For us also, too, we have come to a time where we know that we just must do business the other way. And one of the other way we can do business is to look at other markets around beyond Nigeria. Technology too has been about a lot of transformation. Technology now made it possible for us to now sell our product across borders globally with just an Instagram or Facebook or any other social media or e-commerce platforms. This has also enabled us. Then government has provided a number of incentives to support exports. These incentives are massive, and it's enough to stimulate export, and that's why we are seeing the kind of statistics we are seeing now. I'm sure if we all support the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics and the Nigerian Export Promotion Council, they'll be able to roll out for us new data that will show times 100 or more of what you have in the data bank at the moment when it comes to exports. When it comes to export.
Thank you very much. So talking about exports, the informal export, right, from Nigeria borders, they exceed 31 million US dollars, according to report, especially between early 2024. But how can policy capture and support this segment?
Yes, the first thing is that for policies to be able to drive attention to their need, we should capture all in that net. At the moment, that has not been done. I did say that many of those playing in the informal sector are still doing a lot that are not being captured. So when the data is only capturing what the medium and large businesses are doing, ordinarily you will see that policy will be tending to that direction. For us to get policies to support those in the informal sector, government must now play in a way that they should also be captured. Another thing is that they also need to be aware of many ways that they can do business in today's world. One of it is after promises to give them leverage for them to trade across the continent. But if you look at it, how many of them are aware of after? A recent survey shows that 67% of the respondents in 5 different states says that they're not even aware of after at all. That is Africa Continental Free Trade Area. And those who are aware, they do not even know the step-to-step process of taking advantage of this after. These are challenges that needs to be tackled with. I'm also happy that government is also coming up with some innovation that also support export now. One of it is the national window that allows everybody now to do a one-stop shop documentation, permit and licenses under one portal. I think that's another national single window. That's another wonderful platform, and I'm sure it is also going to bring about a lot of exporters being captured by data by the time it is rolled out in the first quarter of next year.
Great, thank you very much. So you talked about technology. I just want to bring in social media in a bit. Despite social media, we'll still see some people lacking, the proper information. You are in that sector and you see how it's been done. Would you say that social media has really helped? Do people get enough information to help them carry on with their businesses?
When it comes to sales and trade, social media has been a big enabler. A lot of SMEs now use social media to sell their products. We also have a number of e-commerce platforms that are used to sell our products. But when it comes to information, awareness, publicity, and sensitization, it's not much on the social media platforms. And that is the area where we need to begin to concentrate our effort on. That while the few people that knows the advantage are taking advantage of it, we need to begin to look at how can we now bring on board those who are not aware of the many opportunities that are available. And I think that has to do with every one of us also, starting from government. Government will be intentional about creating awareness. This has to be done across social media and news in a language they understand, in the format they understand. It's not too bad an idea. They also print flyers and all of that, stating specifically the step-by-step process, checklist, requirements for documentation and all of that, that even the informal players will need to become an exporter that can be captured by data. These are very important. It's also good for us to begin to look at how to get testimonies of those who have been able to use social media to leverage on their business. This will help a lot also encourage those who are not using it to see the advantage of it. But these are not always there on the social media space. And I think it's something we need to begin to
It's very important.
Yes.
It's very important. Okay, so because we are talking across borders, of course, I want to speak to originality. Somehow you hear about some particular countries when they talk about their products not being original or quality, and they tend to ship them to some certain countries. And you find some Nigerian goods as well, where they tend to give them a particular tag. Do you understand what I'm saying? I don't want to speak. You get the point. So what do we need to do to ensure that when Nigerian products are seen anywhere in the world, that credibility is there, that acceptance is there? Or are we there yet?
We're not there. We have improved a lot, if I must be honest, but we are not yet where we ought to be, really. And when it comes to that, it has to do with standardization, and that's where the Standard Organization of Nigeria comes in. It should be a must for us to ensure that whatever is leaving our shores is of standard, of quality, and whatever is also coming in is of the same. And the best way to do this is to begin to build the capacity of exporters, not just exporters, even every manufacturer, to embrace quality, to embrace standard. And one way to also do that is to create workshops, webinars, seminars, to educate them again and again, have collaboration with business membership organizations like us to continue to train these people, let them know what they need to do when it comes to labeling, let them know what to do when it comes to packaging, let them know what to do when it comes to the SOP, the standard operating procedure of what they're doing. These are very important, and ensuring that it meets with at least the minimum standard. You see at the moment, Nigeria used to be a dumping ground, but as that narrative has begun to change for now, as our standard has been elevated to some point, but I think we still need to do more.
All right, thank you very much. I think I agree with you. There is a need for us to do more because the best we can wish for ourselves is to get better every day. So I want to ask, Nigeria's former non-oil export, reaches 5.4 billion US dollars in 2024. Now, how can small businesses benefit more from this performance?
Yeah, what we need to do, because I also represent small business.
Okay.
What we really need to do at this time is first to have a mindset shift from the local market to global markets. And that is very important to begin to look at how can I make my product meet with standards? How can I begin to now export it, perhaps starting from Africa, then globally? The next again is that for government to also give us the support system that we need. Support systems by ensuring that, by ensuring that the national single window works. One thing is to have many good policies on paper. There's another thing to see it work. You remember that sometimes in the past we have had single windows for trade that did not work. So it's important that this works, because when this works, it will really make documentation and approval seamless. It will also reduce corruption and all of that, human interface in all of the process. And at the same time, too, it will help to increase our profit because we will be saving a lot of money and saving a lot of time. It's also good to begin to look at government bringing instruments of trade into play. One of it is factoring. When I sell to someone anywhere, and the person is to pay me maybe in the next 45 days. Factoring makes it possible for me to get my money maybe in the next 72 hours, and I begin to do business again. Also, to government licensing more players in the digital platform when it comes to payments, digital payment platforms, such that when I trade with Côte d'Ivoire, I can send money, receive money in my currency within minutes instead of waiting. Ensuring too that there are windows created in the financial system for FX for small traders. At the moment, it is very difficult for small traders, SMEs, to get FX from the banks. They go to the parallel market, which is very expensive, and cut profits, which is also not too good. There should be a special window for small traders that they can access funds. There should also be a channel whereby reporting can be done when issues arise, particularly at the borders. There should be hotlines where people can call government, call agencies of government to report and get solutions to their problem at the port. We should also begin to look at how government too can begin to bring about infrastructure, even at the border points, that supports exports. One of it is good road. One of it is ensuring that all the payments that should be made are published and available to the SMEs that are doing cross-border trade. A lot of extortions, a lot of informal payments are happening at the borders. When there's a printout, you know what to pay, you can even prepare for it, and it reduces extortion. Another thing is for those who are exporting perishable goods, there should be storage facilities across the borders that can help them to also save their products until it gets to the point of destination and save us a lot of money. So many things that we all need to do.
Great. So many things indeed that we all ought to do. And I agree with you. So while you were talking, you mentioned Côte d'Ivoire. So I actually want to ask you, this relationship country to country, do you understand? Are there agreements that you feel are barriers that are affecting these border trades? Again, you mentioned policy earlier, and I want to talk about some of these frameworks. Do you think these frameworks, such as ECOWAS, AFCFTA, among others, do you think they adequately address small-scale trade realities?
Well, on paper, they are designed to address that. When you
on paper.
When you talk of ETLS, ECOWAS Liberalization Scheme, you talk of AFTA and all of that, they are intended to sort of provide the buffer and solution to small businesses, but it has not really translated to realities, and that's the problem we have at the moment. And I think one of the reasons is that we do not have enough cooperation among the countries. For example, when you have a product here in Nigeria that is certified by the certifying body, maybe NAFDAC, maybe Standard Organization of Nigeria, and all of that, by the time you get to the next country, you have to do a whole lot of certification again. Of course, it is understandable that every country has their standards, but there can be some form of harmonization. There can be some form of strong handshake so that this will reduce bureaucracy, will reduce expenditure for some of these small business traders across border. You also look at it again when we have very wonderful initiative like AFTA. How many people have been able to take advantage of it? How many small business owners has been able to export under AFTA? it is very, very minimal. And if this will continue if you are not intentional about it. Government must be ready to hold some as pilot schemes to be able to do this. Sometimes late last year, we had 10 organizations, 10 companies that were supported by government to do exports. But after that, what has happened? It is good for us to begin to look at how this can be not just a one in a moment chance, but a continuous process, sustainable process that government must continue to intentionally support. And maybe finally on that, it is also good for us, every one of us, to begin to see how we can use the media to also preach this gospel that we all must begin to embrace export. The time has come when we can no longer rely on our oil. We must begin to do non-oil exports, and that's the way we can actually grow our economy. That's the way we can bring more revenue. That's the way we can create more jobs. That's the way we can create wealth, and that's the only way we can be sustainable and resilient now as small business owners.
Thank you very much. Talking about the media, I think there's a platform, and we'll do everything we can, to ensure that we push that narrative as much as possible. Let's quickly talk about mobility and logistics. I mean, we're just going to wrap up maybe one or two more questions, and we are done. So, only 28%, I mean to say, Africa travel in visa-free countries. So we have issues with visa, we have issues with travel restrictions, some policies all around it. Well, maybe not as much as it's been said, but because you are into this sector, you'll be able to explain better. Tell us, are they truly hindrances?
There are a lot of bottlenecks when it comes to transport across borders. And it's been there for a long time. We hope that by now it will have been seamless, but it is not. It will shock you to hear that sometimes you can spend 1-2 days in certain borders. At times you have perishable goods, but you are being stopped, not because you are not doing illegal business, but because some people want to extort you, because some people want to bring for you licenses and approval that you have never heard of, you have never seen, and they make you pay, even at the detriment of your business. The roads are bad. Sometimes a shorter road that will lead to the border, maybe 45 minutes, because the roads are bad. You have to take a longer road that takes more hours and affects the time you do business. You also look at insecurity. Many of the borders are not secure. You see a lot of theft going on. You see a lot of even kidnapping sometimes going on, and all of that. You also look at women in business who are in cross-border trade. They are also more affected because they sometimes they are harassed, they are molested because they are women, and then these are big issues. And that's why some of us believe that there should be a better framework for cross-border trade, and government should begin to champion that. When we look at policies that are directed only to the formal sector, we will not get it right, because the informal sector are more. So we should begin to look at how can we begin to work with this informal sector. And you cannot really get it right if you don't have a strong handshake with stakeholders in that sector. And that's why we keep preaching that government must create policies together with stakeholders like us who are in that space, so that it will not be that we will only be consumers of the policy. We should be part of the incubation stage, which will be part of the process, which will be part of the implementation, which will also be part of the monitoring and evaluation. And that's the only way we can get it right.
Thank you very much. And at this point, I was just going to take one more question. Our time is almost up. I want you to just put them together. We've asked a couple of questions, but put them together to address the topic for today. What are the things we need to do as a business person, as a government, as an individual? What do we need to do to get it right?
Let me start from government. Government must continue to enable businesses to be able to do more export, making sure we have access to loan to do export at affordable rates, making sure that FX is available, making sure that the national single window works so that we have one portal for payments, making sure that logistics and infrastructure are provided, making sure that incentives are there for those who are into export, and ensuring that those in the informal sector are brought up to be formal, so that we can have enough data that can really show the realities of what we have. Then coming to individuals, particularly business owners, the next economy is not intra-trade, but inter-trade.
Trade.
We must begin to look at how to maximize exports, both continentally and globally. That's where the money is now. Our products are very good and it's needed everywhere, and it's also very cheap. So we should continue to look at how to make more exports. And then we should be resilient. We must be resilient. No matter the challenges we have, we should know that there's no condition that is perfect. We should continue to make best of the imperfect condition. And I'm sure that at the end of the day, many will smile, as some are already smiling. And for corporate organizations, even for the media, they should continue to also support us as corporate organizations, to create awareness, to bring money out for seminars, capacity building, and all of that, to create support desk. So sometimes banks need to create support desks for export in their branches so that they can get funding for those in that sector. And for the media, thank you for what you are doing. I appreciate that. I also encourage every other media to see how they can support export. Having a program called Across Borders alone shows that you are focused on export, on cross-border trade, and I think that is commendable. If you have these in pockets here and there, the narrative will change.
Thank you so much. I mean, thank you for the accolades. Thank you for the good words. So take home for me is the fact that you mentioned that the next economy is not in intra-trade, it is in inter-trades. I think I like that part. And all hands need to be on deck. So everybody needs to work, the government, individuals, finance sector and all of that. Media, yes, we need to put our hands together and work to ensure that all of these things are done. I want to say a very big thank you to you for coming. Yes, we actually thought we were going to join online, like I mentioned earlier. So you coming in person, it's a great deal for us. Thank you so much, Dr.
Thank you
Egbesola.
very much. When it comes to cross-border trade, it is close to my heart.
I
very dear
see.
to me.
I see.
I will come again and again for it.
Thank you so much. And definitely we'll be reaching out to you
Thank you.
again.